Cubs got themselves a little closer, Kratzy. Ryan Presley from Houston over to Chicago. He waives the no trade, and Chandler Rome has been all over this story. Crush City Territories got episodes up. They're going to do a combo episode with Northside Territory. So if you want to learn a lot more about how this impacts the Cubs, how it impacts Houston, Kratz, Presley's bona fide clutch. Obviously, maybe not the same exact stuff as it was from a few years ago, but this is the part that stands out that we're looking at on the screen right now. Gave up a low-level prospect, the Cubs did, and then pick up their closer plus $5.5 million to cover some of the 14. So they just got themselves an $8.5 million closer that I guess, you could put that price on the marketplace. And I would have been surprised if Ryan Presley was a free agent and got just one season and $8.5 million. But that's what the market says. I mean, clearly if a team called them and said, I'll give you, I'll pick up 12 out of 14, the Astros would have entertained the conversation. I'm surprised that the value is there for Presley, and I think he's going to have a monster year for the Cubs.
I mean, yes, the stuff isn't there, but the results are still there. And you can never – obviously the Cubs, with this move, with the Tucker move, I think they want to make the playoffs. Whether we think they did enough or not, solidifying the closer role, let alone at $8.5 million, like – Juan Brito must be a stud, because to me, if I'm another team, I'm sitting there going, we need a closer, want a closer, whatever our situation is. How did we not get an opportunity at this? Like, this seems like a really sweet deal for the Cubs, and good job by Presley of still wanting to be a closer, being okay leaving his home, leaving where he spends essentially all the time except for spring training.
My biggest thing is this free up money for them to go get Alex Bregman? Why do they need to trade Ryan Presley? I didn't feel like this was a necessity unless they want to up their offer to Alex Bregman and try to get him to come back. That's the only thing I can see this for. Presley's been a valuable guy. I know he wasn't happy once they got Hader, but he still did a nice job for him. Going to the Cubs, he's going to slide right into the ninth inning in his free agent year again. So, and he got a little money to, work the tax stuff out. And he got another no trade. So just because he got traded, he still gets the no trade in Chicago. So this was a win-win for Ryan Presley. And if the Astros, if it helps him get Alex Bregman, this was a good trade for the Astros.
I will say Chandler Rome referred to what you're talking about this morning as the Astros shopping him the entire offseason. So he was like, it's not as if they're at the 1 yard line. They've got this deal with Bregman. They just have to trade away Presley and free up some extra money for 2025. But I am with you. That still could happen, right? It was
but this will help, right?
This
has been a free agent all offseason, and they've been trying to trade Ryan Presley all offseason. Alex Bregman. Yeah, I mean, of course he calls his return, but this is called negotiations, right? As re-engaged, but called his potential return a long shot. Yeah, you know what? That's called negotiations through the media. Yeah, it's crack. I mean, come on. Let's be honest here. It puts a hole in the bullpen, but if the hole is filled by Alex Bregman, it'll work. I just don't know why they would trade Ryan Presley when they had Abreu, Presley, Hader, 7, 8, 9. Now they got to find somebody to fill that role. Who will it be? I don't know. Maybe they'll go out and sign somebody if they don't sign Alex Bregman, but it's getting to be kind of slim pickings now.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, Kratz, I think the Astros feel like they're still in good shape with their bullpen, whether that's accurate or not. I mean, this was set in stone for them. If someone's going to take X amount of money and Ryan Presley's going to say, okay, then we're going to do this. So here's what we're looking at. And obviously the two at the top stand out a ton. Josh Hader is one of the best closers in baseball. Brian Abreu has been one of the best relievers in the sport for the last few seasons. And then there are a lot of names that have some potential, but don't necessarily scare you here. I mean, I think Ort had a nice year last year, right? Taylor Scott was really good for them last year. So I think they figure that they're going to be able to piece this together, because some organizations are really good at building bullpens and some organizations generally don't do a good job. Houston's been pretty solid in that department for a while, which is part of why they've been so good over the past decade plus. It's probably the most underrated part of what they put together. Everyone knows the core. Everyone knows some of the big name starters, but if you have an absolute crap bullpen for years, it's not working. And up until Hader just now, it's not like they were spending like crazy to put this bullpen together. They took care of the guys they were supposed to take care of. Ryan Presley is one of them. And they also made a mistake with Rafael Montero, who has not worked out for them since that big season when they won the World Series in 2022. But I think they're not concerned based on past success that they've had with their arms.
That's the big thing. What do the Astros do? If you sum it up, besides winning, they don't strike out when they're hitting, and they strike everybody out when they're pitching. So if they felt like they could get rid of Presley, because it's really only coming down to $8.5 million, that's not even close to what you'd think you would need to get another big piece, like a Bregman piece. So if they knew they could get rid of Presley and put somebody else in there, maybe Ort has another great year, so that's a huge pickup. Maybe Montero makes the team and he figures something out. They figure out how to minimize strikeouts when they're hitting and to maximize strikeouts when they're pitching. So they feel like they can cover it, I guess, because they have a closer. They have a bona fide closer in Josh Hader, who's willing to throw 2 innings too. So it's kind of a new piece for him in there.
All right, so then let's get to the next layer. Let's push forward.
But I disagree with that. I disagree with that because those guys are unproven. We should the list. I mean, those guys aren't proven guys like Ryan Presley was, like Ryan Presley was. So I mean, Abreu and Hader and the rest of Whitley was a big prospect, never really panned out, got hurt. The rest of these guys aren't really proven guys. Ort's been around a little bit. Montero is, but didn't they DFA him last year? Or didn't they do something to him? Right? So, yeah. I mean, who would look nice there? Maytown would look nice coming back there. Isn't he still a free agent?
I think he's still out there.
I mean, he did really well for them. He'd be a nice fit for them. I just don't think this. I think this opens up money, $5.5 million. I get that, but I mean, that's $5.5 million more they can offer to Alex Bregman. Maybe on a short-term deal. Maybe Bregman comes back for 1 year. I don't know. But I just don't know why Houston would do this unless Ryan Presley was that unhappy.
I think they know what they have. I think they know what they have in those unproven pieces. I don't see Ryan Presley being that upset. But hey, you know what? We're obviously just conjecture because we don't know what he's feeling. But to me, they have to know what they have. It's similar to a team that's claiming a lot of guys. Like if they bring these guys in, they feel like the opportunity for them to have success in the pen is, I assume, better than what they had in Presley, but you just can't. I hate to see the Astros make it to the playoffs and be like, yeah, let's go. Like we got Abreu, we got Hader, we got okay, we got Abreu and we got Hader. Like that was a formidable 3 guys that covers 4 innings for you in the playoffs for a long time.
I think, Presley picked it up as the season went on, but even Espada mentioned, like, it was tough for him to lose that role. And technically he didn't do anything to lose that role. They just ended up buying a nice, shiny gem off the free agent market. All right, 2 more parts here real quick. I want to get to the Cubs bullpen because I feel much better now about the Cubs bullpen. They have some good arms there. Porter Hodge is a beast. And he looked good down the stretch. I don't want him closing. Nate Pearson's always had talent and been one of the top prospect arms for a while, but couldn't stay on the field and then, had difficulty with his command in the bigs, but he's got good stuff. There's some other names that we've known there for a while. Merriweather, Caleb Thielbar's been hanging around the league for a while and bounced back down the stretch last year and was picked up by the Cubs. Keegan Thompson's been in that system for a while. So I just feel much better now with Presley at the top of this list, AJ, and feel like what was a weakness for the Cubs could at least be more mid-level, right? A good enough bullpen for them to compete.
Again, yeah, it is because of the division they're in. For me, that's why Presley's a nice end at the end. Pearson's been a guy that the Blue Jays hyped up forever and ever. Thielbar had a down year last year for the Twins. I don't know. I think I would love to see another established guy come in there for the Cubs. And Presley's a nice touch, but I'd love to see one more veteran guy come in and solidify the 6th, 7th, or 8th inning for them. Because bullpens are I keep saying this, but they're one of the most volatile units in baseball. One year you could have the greatest bullpen of all time, and the next year for the same guys with the same stuff and the same roles, and they don't do it as well, and you just can't ever figure it out.
Tyson Miller's got some nice numbers, but it's not a lot of punch outs. But what do the Cubs do well? They field the ball. So, you know what? If you're going to build that bullpen, maybe it doesn't look like Doesn't look like the just absolute punch-out city. But to me, there's too much, we're really leaning on this guy, have a bounce back. Nate Pearson to like his career has been exactly what AJ said, like pumped up from the Blue Jays. Maybe he has success with his, flatter fastball in the bullpen that guys were seeing when he was starting. Julian Merriweather's coming off an injury. He had 1 year where he was dominant. He could be your 8th inning. There's just a lot of could be's, should be's. How is Craig Counsell going to do it? No idea. But he was a master at it in Milwaukee, and he's got to be able to have somebody at the end, which he didn't have the last few years. Whatever his name is, Alazale. Thank you. He was down there, and they ran him to death for a while, and it was just like you can't keep doing that. And now they have a solid veteran piece. You just need to keep getting more pieces in there. Like AJ said, I'd like to see maybe one more. We just said Phil Maton. He knows what he's doing down there.
Yeah. Alzolay, by the way, signed a minor league deal with the Mets 2-year contract, and he's coming back from Tommy John surgery. He was money, though, a couple years ago for them and then kind of fell apart. All right, last layer here. Do we think that the Houston Astros are going to now reunite with Alex Bregman? We talked a lot about this over the weekend. Ken Rosenthal kind of hinted that he's feeling it. I listened to him again talk about it on Fair Territory, but how the positioning will get a little weird. And Ken kind of made a case for Bregman to join them and potentially look at playing him at second base instead of at third, keeping Paredes at third base. We'll see. One other layer before you comment here, AJ. Alex Spear from WEEI, who covers the Red Sox, said that the Sox are still talking to Bregman's camp, but they only want a short-term agreement, aka no longer than 4 years. I'm like, if Chandler Rome, who has told us that the 6-year $156 million is still out there, is correct, why the hell would he take a 4-year deal from Boston unless they're planning on giving him 4 years, 200? So I think chances are lining up that he's either going to Houston or Detroit. But if Detroit hasn't gotten him since, then I think Houston's in play, and he might go back there for, maybe it's 6-160 something, so that they could say all this time wasting from the 6-156 was worth it. And there's a couple deferrals that basically make it the same price as what they offered 2 months ago.
Yeah, listen, I love that for them to do that. I think it would be great. I think Alex Bregman is a guy that came up with the Astros, was drafted by the Astros, has been with the Astros his entire career, has been through the good times and the bad times. Whatever those bad times are, whatever the people want to say, whatever they did in 17 in those years, they did it, okay? But he's been through it all. He's won. He's been a proven veteran winner for him, and I think he should stay an Astro for his entire career. Now, that's the softy in me, but at the same time, if the Detroit Tigers and someone he knows well, AJ Hinch, come to him and say, hey, we're going to blow you out of the water, he's going to leave. So do I think the door's open? I think it's more open than it was a couple days ago once Presley got traded. Do I think he's going to end up back there? We all know how Scott Boras works, so we'll see. I think Bregman ultimately probably wants to go back there, but he also wants to get fair market value. That's where it's going to be interesting.
I think they get him. I think they get him. I don't think it is a perfect fit with the defensive alignment, but I'm afraid unless somebody like the Jays were to jump in, we don't know about them. We haven't heard about them. I just don't feel like we just heard about Boston. I don't feel like the Tigers really want to go that long either. Old Javi Baez hangover. I think it's going to end up being the Astros. It could be that 6 years. It also could be like a 6-year with a opt-out after the first year. So he can say, you know what? I think I deserve more. I think the market would give me more. We'll see what happens.
Ready for this? Bregman signs with Houston. Astros trade Paredes to a team that needs a third baseman because there's still a few of them. Maybe even back to Detroit or Boston. They get an outfielder because they need an outfielder. So book it, okay? That's the next week.
No, but not if they don't need an outfielder if Jose Altuve slides out to the outfield. Like they're
I know, but I want Altuve at second. I want Bregman at third.
But you want Paredes' bat in that lineup. I want Paredes' bat 81 times in Minute Maid, or not, it's called Minute Maid, whatever it's called now. Dyken Park.
Yeah.
Dyken Park. Yeah. But anyway, I could see it happening because also they would want to clear some money, and Paredes getting paid a decent rate this year. I don't remember what the exact money is.